Hi, this is Shane Smythe from Marketing Cloud Mojo. Today we're going to be talking about Content Builder. We're going to be talking about templates and emails and all the different blocks you have in there. We're going to be talking about dynamic content and even some AMP script. All right, so let's jump right into it. Today we're going to be talking about Content Builder and emails inside of Marketing Cloud and how to send a single email. So today we're going to start by going to the Content tab. So there's actually two ways to get to this section. You can see that we're in the Email Studio right now. You can either go to the Email Studio in the Content tab like we just did, or you have the option to go to Content Builder, and this is where you're going to be able to see Content Builder by itself without any other tabs up at the top. You also have approvals that you can see on this app builder up here. I like to stay in the Email Studio for now because it's easy to kind of toggle back and forth between your emails and your data extensions. So what we're going to do today is kind of give a quick overview of what Content Builder is, some of the features, and then we're going to dig into creating a couple emails and some use cases here. So on the left-hand side, you kind of see the folder structure that we have inside of our instance. The default that kind of happens when you click on Content Builder is you're going to get up at this top level of your entire instance. So my business unit is called Demo. So I'm seeing all the content in my unit right now, whopping 4 pieces of content here. But you can easily dig down into individual content pieces or the entire folder structure here. So you can see that as we start to choose folders, we're seeing different pieces of content. So that is a useful piece right there. You can also stay at the top level up here and do a little bit of filtering. So on the right-hand side, we have filter. So you can choose what type of content you want to see, if it's a template, if it's an email. You can see any pre-made tags that we have in our instance or who the owners are. So these are some nice filters that you can place on top of there. You can also change what information you see in this section right here. Added is valuable. You can kind of see when it was all added. I like to keep it kind of standard here. You can also change which direction it filters on. So that's just all kind of useful up here. And if you're a box person, you can always see it in a box format. I like to keep it in list view right here. All right, so from here, that's kind of the main overview. You're able to kind of dive into each one of these pieces of content or emails straight from clicking on them. You'll very easily be able to see the location here and also the type of content it is. So you can see we have 2 images, we have a template-based email, and we have a free-form content block. And on the right-hand side, you have a couple of options for the different types of content pieces here. So you can see that once we dive into the email, we have a couple extra things in here, such as preview and test and content detection that we wouldn't have for, say, on a just content block itself, because the content block you can't send by itself. So that wouldn't make any sense. So on the top right-hand side, we have this create button, and this is where we're going to get started here. So we have a couple options. We can create a single email. We can create a template itself, and we can create content blocks, and we can upload some content. So I'm going to start with templates. This is the basis of everything that's built email content-wise in Marketing Cloud, so that it kind of distinguish the difference between the two of them. A template is a form for an email that has sections and layout pieces, but is genericized. So you can use a template multiple times throughout your sending. So maybe you have a template for a specific commercial line for your product, and maybe you have another one for the transactional emails you have, and maybe there's another one for a different product line. You can have a template per discipline in here, and then you would build multiple emails off of a template. You would never build one email and one template per send. That'd be a lot of work. So we're going to start with just clicking email template. There are out-of-the-box templates, so I'm going to show you those now. I'm going to choose from existing template. It's very, very common to come in here in a new instance and to modify existing templates or have your own code. Depending on, if you have a front-end developer who's really good at, making it mobile responsive and wants to kind of stick to that, you have that option as well. But it is also very common to start with either a basic template here or a themed template and then make some modifications as you need to. So you have these basic options here. This list keeps growing, which is awesome. You have the empty templates. Not a whole lot of use cases now. This used to be our only options in classic content, but now we have a lot of other options as well. Themed is also kind of cool. I haven't had a client actually use any of these, out of the box like this. But it's kind of cool that they're starting to break it out by different, industries. We have financial services up in the right-hand corner. We have restaurants down here. We have a retail sections. We have some business. So we're going to go back to actually basic. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with a fairly simple email. Let's start with a hero 1-2 column. And you have this little pop-up right here that gives you what it looks like for both a close-up view. You can kind of scroll here in this box, which is nice. All right, this looks like it's going to fit my needs. I'm going to click select. And hello, we're part of Content Builder or Template Builder here, so that's cool. So this is going to show you your template. So for instance, if we had a client logo, we put our client logo up here, and maybe we wanted to make sure that every single one of our emails that was built off this template had a banner up here and an option to have some text right here, and now we have a side-by-side as well. Maybe say we also have a use case for a 3 down here. So we would build this out, and maybe potentially we'd want to have an image block in each one of these sections. Kind of just dragging and dropping some content blocks in here. When you drag it over, it's going to open up that content block, and this is going to be all the default settings that happens when you actually create the email off of this. So if we wanted there to be a border or an alignment different than centered, you can choose that here. You can also choose a default image. This is kind of useful if down here you always want to have something to start with, and then users can change it. You can have that. So we're going to click next here, and then maybe we want to have a text block underneath. So we're going to have some products down here and some descriptions. We'll drag over the text block right underneath this image, and this will open up any default text we want. If we leave it blank, however, it's going to leave this lorem ipsum standard text down here. So I'm just going to do this a couple more times to get us to a place where we can move on. Okay. So now we've made some modifications to our template. Still pretty bland. We'd obviously want to build this out a little more if we were actually using it for sending. But this is customized to us. So what we're going to do is we're going to click Save, and we're going to call this Awesome Template. And Awesome Template, well, we don't really want it to live in our Content Builder folder here, but we're going to save it there for now. Maybe we'll move it later on. So we're going to click Save here. And from there, what we're going to do is we're going to click Back. And you'll notice that, hey, now we have a new template in our Content Builder folder structure here. So we mentioned earlier we don't really want this in the main Content Builder folder. We want to keep this semi-organized. So on the left-hand side, you have the option to create any folder structure you want and nest it as much as you want. There's some standard folders that we normally recommend, which is images and templates, and then some kind of folder structure to organize your emails, by month or by year. So for now, we're just going to create folder, and we're going to do a template folder. This is where all of our templates are going to live. Now that we already have this one selected, we're actually just going to quickly move, and we're going to move this down to our template folder down there. So now you can see that it's in the template location. If I dive into templates, we're able to see that down here. So yeah, we have that now. So let's dig into an actual email. So now that we've created that template, I'm going to click Create Email. And now we have kind of the same view we saw earlier. We have all of the basic content, or all the basic templates, to say. We also have the empty, we also have the themed, but then there's this tab called Saved, and we see this awesome template here. So we're going to click Awesome Template, and now it's going to show that we have Awesome Template selected. We're going to give this a name. We're going to call this Demo Email. So you have a couple options here. There is a name field right here. There's a description. There's a location you want to save this. So again, if you are saving this in some kind of folder structure, you can change that here. You also have the ability to add tags to this campaign. It is useful from a reporting perspective, but there are a few other use cases as well. There are also a couple of other toggles here that you can turn on that aren't by default. So if you are a Google user or you're an Adobe Analytics user and you want to tag automatically tag all of your links inside of your email. There's a UTM parameter option that you can enable through support. So I'd encourage you to look into that and ask support. Usually takes them about a day or two to turn on. And then it gives you some out-of-the-box ones, like UTM source and UTM campaign. You can have them actually pre-fill that with specific pieces of information. So if you wanted all of your source tags to be email, no matter what, and you didn't want to leave that up to user discretion, you can have them pre-configured on the back end. So that is super useful. So we're going to go, once we have some of this information filled out, we're going to click Next. And this is where we're going to start diving into our actual content creation. So similar view as a content builder, template builder, but it has a couple other sections here that we didn't see before. So the first one is subject line. So because this is a demo email, we're going to say, hello demo email audience. We're going to click Save. I normally try to do this first because if you don't do the subject line here, it's going to yell at you later and it's not going to let you preview your actual content. Another cool thing about this content builder concept that they didn't have before in Classic is it auto-saves. So you can see that as I'm making changes on the top right-hand corner, it's making saves as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down a little bit and we can see, oh, hey, this is our template. We have our 3x3 down here. Let's quickly talk about some of these content blocks on the left-hand side over here. So we have our basics. We have our text. This is the most commonly used. We have image block, HTML block if we want to create some custom section in there. Freeform is very useful. Button. So those are all the standards one you're going to see and actually all the ones that are on your screen right now. There's a couple of use cases for more advanced content pieces down here. So there is dynamic content. We're actually going to go into that in just a second, so I'm going to not say too much about that. And then there's enhanced dynamic content, there's external content. This is super useful if you have, let's say, a CMS system that is holding all your content, or maybe you have a DAM that you keep a central location. You can drag this over and you can reference that external location. So instead of storing it in two locations and trying to keep it updated, you can reference that external content. One of the new ones that's been added is image carousel, which allows you to have multiple images and it will slide through them, kind of like a traditional website. So that's a cool enhancement they've made over the last couple of releases. The last one is Einstein content, which is one of my favorites. It's enabled once you turn Prediction Builder on. It allows you to predict either articles inside of your email and kind of show a couple of selections based on the profile of the individual, or to show products. So super cool use case there that we might do a separate video on in the future. And then there's a couple other ones down here that are used less commonly, but they're there. One last thing I'll say down here, there's a bottom section that's empty right now. You do have the option to create custom content blocks. We're not going to go into that now, but there are really cool use cases there, and maybe we'll have a future video for that as well. So let's say that our requirements for this email right now are to have a personalized welcome. This is our first email to our demo audience, and so we want to drop in some hello text. So one of the the main reasons people use Marketing Cloud is for their ability to do dynamic content, personalized content, and segmentation. So in this view right here, we're able to do some personalization. So let's do that. Let's say that we want to do welcome and then the person's name. So on the top up here, we have the normal WYSIWYG you normally see. You have all the normal features here, but there's this person button right here. If you click that button, it's actually going to give you some options. So I actually did this earlier, so it's already pre-populating here. But if you have a data source, and so in our last video, and if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it, we created a data extension called All Contacts. This All Contacts data extension has information about the people we're going to be sending to. So we have the option, if we haven't already set it up, to choose new data source and to choose our data extension. And that data extension will actually populate with the fields we have on that data extension. So let's say that we wanted to say welcome first name. So it's going to populate that personalization string for us. You also have the option to do more advanced stuff, I should say, using AmpScript, but we're going to stick with this for a second. We're actually going to see an opportunity for us to do more advanced, so just give me 1 second here. We're going to say welcome first name. Okay, so let's say that we have all the other pieces of content done for now. A couple other things I wanted to point out on this screen up here. There's some cool toggles here that you can kind of see what the desktop and mobile versions look like. If you're a developer, you have the option to view the code. Also available in the template section. And when you're creating a template, you can actually modify this code, so that is super useful. I'll go back to layout. Now that we have this kind of overviewed, we're going to go to preview and test. So once we actually create the content, we're going to want to see what it looks like and maybe even send out a test email to ourselves. So we're going to click preview and test. And what this is going to do is it's going to automatically populate on the last data extension I chose. So I've already done this before, so it's pre-selecting on all contacts. And what this is going to do is once I select an individual, it's going to populate the email as if I was that person and I was seeing it in their inbox. So I'm going to see this for Jack. I'm going to click select. And we can see that it says, welcome Jack. Once you do this first time, you can kind of toggle between the individuals in your data extension. So I can toggle to the next person. Now it's going to say Pat. Now it's going to say Andy, and so on and so forth. So this is super cool. This gives us a kind of a view into what's happening here. We can also click the second tab down, and we can start sending out emails to individual recipients who want to receive this in their inbox to see what it looks like, in your Outlook or in Gmail or whatever it may be. So you can simply just type in the email address here, then click send test, and we're good to go. This is also another thing that's important during actual sends. During actual sends, you want to make sure that you have the correct send classification. This send classification allows you to choose who it's coming from your account. So whether you want it to come from marketing@whateveryourcompanyis.com or maybe sales@whateveryourcompanyis.com, you can make those different modifications there. The last one that I really love, but it is not set up in this account, is Litmus. If you have a Litmus account that is a certain level, you're able to generate a preview of what your email looks like in the different types and versions of different inboxes. So that is really useful for testing perspective. So this looks great. Let's go through a couple other use cases here. Oh, hold on a second. This person doesn't have a first name because first name is not required in our data extension. We have this use case where we have, in most cases, we're going to have a first name, but this individual doesn't have a first name for whatever reason. And there's a trailing comma that looks really weird. So when you're doing simple personalization strings, try to think about these use cases because they do come up, and you want to make sure that you're building your email in such a way that you're conforming to how your data actually is. So I actually pre-built a piece of content for us to demo out here. So if you have a specific piece of content that maybe you reuse across multiple emails, what you can do is you can go out of there back to the main content builder section. I'm going to do that right now. And you can actually see that we can create individual free form or text or button blocks, and we can use those multiple times throughout different emails, and it kind of saves some rework. So we're going to go back into our demo email, click edit on the top, and click edit content. And we're going to drag that over by clicking the content tab up here. Real quick on this section, I glossed over this earlier, but you have blocks on this first tab, then you have content. This is all your existing content. Then you have layouts. If you wanted to add more side-by-sides, you can do that from here. You can also do side-by-side top bottom. You have all these options, and then design kind of gives you more control over what this individual email looks like. These are all the settings that are set in our template, and you can override them here. So we're going to go back to content, and I have this personalized welcome that I'm going to drag down right, let's say, under the button. And it looks like this. So it looks kind of crazy right now, and I'm not going to go too much into the code, but basically this is saying if the first name is empty, Then we're going to just replace the comma with an exclamation point. And if it's not empty, then we're going to leave the comma and we're going to leave the first name. So we're going to click done there, and we'll go into more AMP script examples later on. And there are probably 5 or 6 different ways of doing this, so this is just one of them. We're going to click preview and test again. And this is the same individual that has this blank field right here, but you'll notice as we scroll down, it says welcome exclamation point instead. But if we scroll to someone who has a first name, it's just saying comma first name. That's a really good example of how to use some more advanced AMP script to make sure your email is displaying correctly. Okay, so that was a really good use case. I have another example I wanted to go through. We have another requirement to build a second product email that is displaying an image to the individual based on a piece of information we know about them, so some dynamic content use case. I have this email that I pre-built called a product email, and it's using one of those fancy styled templates here. So I have this email, and it looks pretty, but we want to have this image change based on that piece of data. So we're going to drag dynamic content over, and we're going to delete this bottom block because we no longer need it. So from here, what you have is you have your default content right here, and you have rules. So your default content is going to be whenever someone doesn't match and it doesn't have a piece of information or it doesn't match at all, it will show this. You also have the option to not put anything there, but we're going to do that. Let's say that we're sending out an email to our Apple lovers, and we want our default content to be a nice little image of a MacBook Pro. So look at that right there. So we have a data column in our all subscribers table called device. And that device column says iPhone or tablet or desktop, and we want to show pieces of information based on that. So we can create a rule right here, and once we create a rule, it's going to ask us where we want to base it off of. We want to base it off our data extension I just mentioned. And that data extension is called the all contacts that we built last time. And we have this device field right here, so we'll drag that over. These are all the columns that you have in your data extension. Once we drag that over, we're going to say, for this rule, we're gonna have device equal to, let's say tablet. And we're gonna choose a piece of content up here on the top. And we have a content, or we have an image for this content block that's a tablet. So we're gonna select that, and it's gonna show you a little preview on the top corner over here, and we're gonna click save. And now we have one rule for that tablet. So I can easily, you'll see this little dot right here, viewing this one right now. I can check this box down here, and it's gonna switch to viewing this tablet instead. So this is cool. So, but there's one more persona that we're not covering here. There's the iPhone or the phone, data set. So we're going to create a new rule, but now I'm remembering to myself that I actually don't have that image in my library at all. So I'm going to make sure this is saved. It looks like it's saved. I'm going to back out of this email, and I'm going to go to images, and yep, I don't have. I have a desktop, I have a tablet, but I don't have a phone. So I actually have a little image that I already previously got, and I'm going to upload this. And this is showing you kind of how you upload. You have the option to click the upload box up here, right here, or you can drag it right into the section, and once you do that, it's going to pop up with a little upload, and you're going to click that, and then it'll be in your content. One little critique here that I would love Marketing Cloud to make a change on, or Salesforce to make a change on, is once you upload it, I love it to just pop up down this list. It actually doesn't do that. So if you click this upload and you're wondering, well, where the heck did it go? I thought I uploaded to my image folder. You did, it's just not showing. So we'll toggle down to, let's say, templates, and we'll pop up back at images, and there it is. So that's just a little quirk there, and I'm sure there's a technical reason for that, but it is there. So we're gonna go back up to our top level. One more thing as I'm ranting. I would love this thing to go away at some point, and not until you actually refresh the page or go into a piece of content, come back out, does this go away? But that is what it is. So we're going to go in here and we're going to click Content, Edit, and we're going to add one more rule to this where we're going to say the device is equal to phone, and we're going to click our content. All right, and we're going to save it. And we have a third one. So we're going to click Viewing just to see what it looks like. Beautiful, looks awesome. So we're going to do one more thing here. So I'm going to add, look at these deals for a subject line, otherwise it won't let us preview. And then once it's saved up here, we're going to click Preview and Test. And this will preview as the individual. So we can see here that this individual's name, this individual's device is tablet, so they're seeing a tablet. But as I scroll through these, this individual is a desktop, so they're seeing a desktop. Let's see if we have any mobile individuals in here. We have another tablet. Oh, I made a mistake. So our data set, this is actually really important. Our data set is actually showing mobile. It's not phone. So it is really important that you go through this preview, otherwise you're going to send out emails, it's not going to do what you expect. So I'm going to go back and make a quick modification. I'm going to go back to this dynamic content, I'm going to click Edit, and I'm going to change this to mobile. Okay, let's make sure it saves. And once it does, we'll go on to Preview and Test. All right, there we go. Made that quick change. Now it's showing mobile. The rest of them are showing as expected. So this is a great example of dynamic content. This is just the beginning of what you can do, and you can use more advanced functionality. You can also do this through AmScript. So we're going to probably go into more of that later. All right, that concludes today for a simple walkthrough of Content Builder. We'll probably do a follow-up of different types of sending options, but like, subscribe, and comment if you have any questions. Appreciate you guys watching.